remember how Sarah laughed to herself when God said that she would give birth? She was proved wrong. In the spring, she gave birth to a little boy. They called him Isaac. Isaac grew into a young lad, and it was clear that now it was a real possibility that Abraham would indeed be the father of many nations. But something totally unexpected happened. God called upon Abraham again. "Abraham," he said. "Here am I," he replied. Then God said, "Take your son Isaac and go to the mountain of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering." That was a bombshell. It was the last thing Abraham expected. Wasn't Isaac the way future generations would come into being? Nevertheless, early the very next morning, Abraham got up and saddled his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey, while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, "Father?" "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and wood are here," Isaac said, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it. But there was still no lamb. It was his son Isaac that Abraham bound and laid on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to kill his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham!" "Here I am," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed that as a burnt offering instead of his son. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, "The Lord declares that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, he will bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your seed all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed." Mary's own birth, too, had been miraculous. Her parents, Joachim and Anna, had been married for 50 years, and they had never been able to have a baby. They longed for one, but they remained childless into their old age. Because of this, other people thought that it was their fault. Joachim and Anna must have sinned against God in some way, they thought. Indeed, when they were in Jerusalem to offer sacrifice to God, the high priest wanted nothing to do with Joachim. "You are not worthy to offer sacrifice with those childless hands," he told him. Joachim was jostled too by the others who had children. They thrust him back as someone unworthy to be there. It was hard for Joachim. He knew full well that every righteous man in the nation had been blessed with children, all except him. Why had they been cursed in this way? He and his wife left Jerusalem with heavy hearts. In desperation, the two of them gave themselves to prayer to God, asking that he would work in them the wonder that he had worked in Abraham and Sarah, and give them a child. So Joachim took his flocks and went to a high mountain. He refused to return home until God had granted his request. Meanwhile, Anna prayed in her garden. God sent the angel Gabriel to each of them. He told them that Anna would conceive a daughter most blessed, by whom all the nations of the earth will be blessed, and through whom will come the salvation of the world. Both Joachim and Anna promised to have their child raised in the temple as a holy vessel of God. The archangel told Joachim to return home, where he would find his wife waiting for him at the city gate. Anna, he told, to wait at the same gate. When they saw one another, they embraced each other full of joy. Anna conceived shortly afterwards, and in the 9th month she gave birth to Mary. This event is remembered each year by the Church on September the 8th. After all, it was through this Mary that God's Son was to come into the world. Questions. Why do you think God told Abraham to sacrifice his only son? Question 2. Like all their people, Joachim and Anna knew all about the history of their nation. What do you think gave them hope that God will give them a baby even though they were so old? Can you email me the answers, please? Practical. It is clear from what we have learned already that God is mysterious. We are often surprised at the way he works. He is different from us. He is holy. That is why we often sing, "Holy God, holy and strong, holy and immortal, have mercy on us." Immortal is a difficult word to understand. We human beings are mortal, which means at some stage we are all going to die. Mors or mortis is the Latin word for death. Immortal means never dying, outside time and space and death. So, full of life, the real eternal life of the age to come. Try to learn to sing this as we do in church. Bye.